Hello everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope we're doing well, and today I'll be doing a review of a 2018 film called Leave No Trace, which is a film that I've actually seen once before and thoroughly enjoyed it, but recently I've been wanting to dive back into the story because it deals with people living off of the grid, and with everything going on in our world and in our political climate especially, it's looking more and more appetizing to try and live that type of simplistic lifestyle. But anyway, before getting into my full review, please be sure to smash the like button. I did want to let everyone know I will no longer be uploading videos to Rumble. I am just not really a big fan of the platform. I have not really seen any sense of monetization possibilities. I've done everything that they've said to do, and it really just doesn't work for me, and I'm already uploading it to a vast other, a plethora of other locations, and so I figured I would just knock one of those locations off. So if you haven't been following me over on Rumble, just know that it's only going to be uploaded to YouTube, which then gets mirrored over to Odyssey. So there is definitely still an alt platform there, as Odyssey will have all of my videos, and I am uploading these to minds.com as well. And so if you're not following me over on Minds yet, please consider doing so. Check out the links in the description below to find out how to follow me over there, because I upload them at the exact same time as I am on YouTube. So you do have a couple of alternative options if you don't want to go and follow me on big tech locations, which I totally understand. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive into this. As it says here from Wikipedia, Leave No Trace is a 2018 American drama film directed by Deborah Granick and written by Granick and Anne Rossellini, based on the 2009 novel My Abandonment by Peter Rock. The plot follows a military veteran father with post-traumatic stress disorder, played by Ben Foster, who lives in the forest with his young daughter, Thomasin McKenzie. The novel is based on a true story. It premiered at the 2018 Sundance Film Festival and was theatrically released by Bleecker Street in the United States on June 29, 2018. The film received universal critical acclaim with praise for the performances of Foster and McKenzie, and after Paddington 2, it is the second most reviewed film to hold an approval rating of 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. And so obviously a pretty good score for this movie, and I would actually say that that is completely accurate. I think that this film having a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, obviously Rotten Tomatoes is complete and utter garbage, but I think that this is one of the few times when it actually kind of gets it right, because this film literally has everything going for it, just based on that description alone. You've got Ben Foster, who I think is one of the more underrated actors working in Hollywood. He's not known for being in giant budget films. He's not known for being a big household name. But he honestly has done consistently good work for the vast majority of his career. If you don't know who he is, this is what he looks like. So he's been in films like The Punisher, even in X-Men The Last Stand, and other films like it. But man, oh man, I think that to this date, the two top films for me that have performances from Ben Foster in it would be obviously Leave No Trace, as I think my favorite performance of his, and the second one would be the remake to 3:10 to Yuma. He plays a bad guy in that film and does a great job with it as well. We also have this younger actress, Thomasin McKenzie, who, again, obviously a couple years has passed by since then, but did a great job in this movie playing this young teen who's living with her father in the middle of the woods, living off of the land, and she does a fantastic job. Also, there's a featurette that I was able to watch because I have my entire library uploaded to my Plex account, and I've digitized my entire library. And one of the cool things about it is that sometimes Plex is able to pull featurettes and other videos. And so I was able to watch a 3-minute featurette. Had no idea that she was British, or sorry, New Zealand. Sorry to my New Zealand brethren out there for confusing that, because I knew that she had an accent. I just couldn't really place it, but New Zealand makes actually a lot of sense because, again, it was a very short featurette. But she also gives a powerhouse performance in this movie. And what's really cool about what I learned from the featurette is they actually brought in a survivalist. They actually brought in someone to train the actors on how to build fires, how to live off the land. Essentially, think of it as a modern day version of prepping to some extent. People who want to live off the land, people who want to learn to be self-sustaining. It was basically that kind of training that these actors went through. And I always appreciate, I think I've mentioned this before in other videos, I always appreciate movies when the actors actually have to get their hands dirty, when they actually have to maybe learn a skill or a craft. Like, for instance, whenever an actor might have to learn how to play a musical instrument, or tune the skills of their instrument, or learn to sing, or learn to do stunts, or in this case, literally learn to build fires and live off the land and all these other things. I'm just always very much impressed by that, because it shows that the actors are not just there to get a paycheck and not just there to look pretty on screen, but are actually there to tell the story and live out the story in the fullest way possible, and they absolutely do. All the shots in this film are just beautifully rendered. You have these beautiful landscapes. I believe this takes place in the state of Oregon. It says here from the plot that Will is an Iraq war veteran suffering from PTSD with a 13-year-old daughter, and they in an old-growth forest park near Portland, Oregon. So obviously, crazy stuff going on in Portland these days, but the sad thing about the state is that from what I hear and from what I've even seen in this movie, it just looks freaking gorgeous. Now, I'm not exactly sure where they shot this movie and where all this stuff took place. Let's see. Principal photography did take place during the spring of 2017 in Portland. Eagle Fern Park in Clackamas County was used for the main forest scenes. Okay, so they did shoot it in Oregon. So yeah, I stand by that. Oregon just looks gorgeous. It looks beautiful. And it's sad that you got all that crazy stuff going on in that state, because it would actually be a really cool state, I think, to visit and to maybe even live in for a little bit because of these beautiful forests, because of seemingly this ability to be able to even live off the land in some instances. And so I found that story was very compelling, and especially for someone like me who's been just more and more drawn to learning those kinds of things, right? I've been looking into trying to get things like a food supply, been looking into potentially trying to do some more camping, learning those skills that I've learned when I was younger, when I was a Boy Scout, like those types of things. I don't know, I'm just more drawn to it because I want to start to try and move away. I feel like I spend too much time on my phone and on social media nowadays, and I think I've mentioned this previously, where I kind of want to have like small breaks from it, you know, just for mental health reasons and everything else. And I feel like a film like Leave No Trace, I think, has really kind of pushed me more in that direction, because I'm looking at that and saying, man, that just looks awesome. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think for a second that I could do that full time, just because I know myself, but I think that that's definitely something that I know I've enjoyed doing in the past, because I've gone camping in the past. One thing that I used to do with my dad and my brothers was every year we would go to Colorado. We would drive all the way from Louisiana to Colorado, going on several stops along the way, and then we would go camping, and it was always just such a fun experience, whether it was building fires or, you know, collecting firewood, or just, you know, just chilling around, talking and telling stories. It's just, there's something magical about the experience, and so Leave No Trace just really kind of brought me back into the zone. Not to mention, it just tells a great story. Again, it tells about a guy dealing with PTSD, trying to deal with things. He has to be away from the outside world. He has to be away from society that has failed him in so many different ways. And obviously, he's there trying to protect his daughter and teach his daughter in the process as well. I think there's a really great commentary here about how one can indeed live off of and outside of the grid and not have to rely on government, not have to rely on anyone else for any of your needs, because as long as you have the willpower and as long as you have the know-withal, that you can indeed be self-sustaining. And I think that's a great message, especially now in 2021, for us to be trying to tell our younger people, especially, that you do not need to rely on other people, and that you should try and learn these skills and learn other things to be more self-sustaining, because God forbid anything should happen, God forbid anything crazier should happen, we should probably start to try and learn some of these skills, especially as things continue to get more and more divisive in our country. And so that's why I think this film is beautiful. I think this film is well written. You've got fantastic acting, as I've already mentioned. The cinematography looks fantastic, and I think a lot of that is helped by the amazing visuals of what we're able to see in these forests in Oregon. You also, I think, have really stellar direction in the film too, getting some of the best performances out of these actors as possible. And Deborah Granick, at first I was like, I didn't really recognize the name, but then I realized that she had actually done another film that I was actually a big fan of, and that was Winter's Bone. That is actually a movie that got Jennifer Lawrence her start. This was before she went off and did all of the Hunger Games and got really famous, and everyone started going crazy over her, and then she started going crazy because she got very much involved with Hollywood. And it's sad because that film is also really good. It also deals with, in that case, living in the rural Ozarks, right? So living, mostly off the grid and kind of away from what we would consider to be civilized society, like outside of the city. And that's what I like about this director, is that she seems to focus on stories that seem to have more of a rural tone to them, right? That it's not focused on the central city. It's focused more on nature. It's focused more on the independent spirit. And I think that's a story that really, honestly, you don't see a whole lot anymore. And that's what I love about it too, is that it's not a political story, right? It's not trying to push any narratives on you. It's just telling you a real story. It just feels real. It feels authentic. And it's something that I think a lot of us need a lot more. These are the types of movies. Leave No Trace was one of my favorite films that came out in 2018. And I think that it's a movie like this that we need to see more from Hollywood, because it's based on a true story, but it's also a story that just tells about the human spirit, that just tells about the individual person and how we can indeed have the drive and have the desire to be self-sustaining and to help ourselves, because we cannot just simply go through life relying on everyone else around us. We sometimes need to pick ourselves up by our bootstraps and just do something. And that's why I personally am a big fan of this film. And if you've never seen this movie before, I would very much highly recommend it. It is available on DVD, and of course it's available on Blu-ray and on digital media as well. You all know I will much more prefer and push for things like physical media, and it is, again, fantastic. And it's a film that, again, does not get nearly as much attention, has not gotten nearly as much focus, but it is a movie that I give a solid A to. This is a film that is one of my favorite films of the last 10 years, and it's a movie that I always forget in conversations, and I'm so glad to have rewatched it again just to remind myself how much I enjoy this movie. I think that's a movie especially that if you are feeling kind of stressed out by the things going on right now and you just want to be able to escape and, again, do what movies are supposed to do. Allow us to live through other characters, to live through and experience things that maybe we can't right now, and to escape, right? That's what movies are meant to be, our escapism. I think that you'll have a good time with this movie. So again, a solid A for Leave No Trace. I highly recommend it. And just to connect with it, I would also recommend Winter's Bone by the same director, and also by the same writer as well, because I think that both of them tell really great human stories that most people can connect with. That one is a little bit darker than this one. This one, actually, I didn't realize until I saw this featurette, because it had the rating, had no idea the film was PG, and yet it's not a kid's movie. It's amazing and rare nowadays, especially, I feel, to find PG stories that are also meant for, more of an adult or more of a mature audience, right? Kids are not going to be, kind of turned away by this film, but they're not going to be drawn to this kind of storytelling either. And yet I would really highly recommend this movie. There's no excessive cursing. There's no crazy violence. It's just a story about humanity. We need more humanity pieces like this in Hollywood. But anyway, what are your thoughts about this? Have you ever seen this film, Leave No Trace? Let me know in the comments section below. If you like this video, please smash the like button. Again, you can smash the like button here on YouTube, over on Odyssey, or over on Minds.com. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Check out the links in the description to find out ways that you can help support the channel, and follow me on various social media platforms. You guys rock. Have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my January 2021 Patreon and Subscribestar members: Albertus Magnus, Ali C83, Andrew Hoyle, Animation Commentator Brian P, Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, The Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jay, Jeffrey Toone, Jonathan Carney, Laura Story, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mr. Peabody and his beautiful twin with the beautiful hair, Orange Hat Reviews, On to June, Out of Step with Reality, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, and Tina B. Thank you very much for being my Patreon members. And also a huge shout out to my Subscribestar peeps: Stan for John B, Perpetual Punster, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, Darkstar 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, J-Rod the Beer Guru, Nevadan G. Adams, and ZK Man. You guys are all freaking amazing. Thank you so very much for being supporters. If you want your name shouted out, please consider joining on Patreon, where for $1 a month, you can get your name shouted out at the end of every single video and live stream. For $5 a month, you get access to that, and also you get access to exclusive giveaways, where I give away 4Ks, Blu-rays, digital codes, etc. $10 a month will get you all that, plus also access to a special podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger. Lots of fun. We do Q&As from that as well, so you get access to asking those Q&As, asking us any wide variety of questions. And for $25 a month, you get all of that stuff, plus you get to be featured once a month on the Chosen of Valhalla live stream. And also for that first month, you get a free t-shirt shipped anywhere throughout the world. So if you want to consider any of those things, please check out the links in the description below, where you can find my Subscribestar and Patreon, and also other ways to support the channel. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.